Today I saw a father calmly leading his son as if he were blind. Why? The child had had his head buried in a book. What other examples of patience and good parenting have you seen recently? My father used to keep a pack of markers next to his bed so on weekend mornings when we would wake up and crawl in bed with him we could entertain ourselves by giving him tattoos while he caught up on sleep. He'd snooze away, he's a farmer, it was a rarity, and let us draw all over his back, legs, arms, stomach. Then, when we finally covered him, he'd wake up, walk to the mirror and admire all of our markings with pride. I used to do that for my friends when we went drinking, but they usually just drew swastikas and dongs. My husband used to stop by Home Depot and collect the cardboard boxes that refrigerators and washing machines came in and build elaborate houses, airplanes, castles, race cars and tunnels for our kids. He would take hours making these things for them, then sit and watch them play in them until they fell apart just to do it all over again. I found it adorable. Your husband is a freaking class act. Never let that guy go. I was at a little kid's birthday party recently and they had a small ball pit in the room. 1. Not very nice. Mother angrily told her young son he couldn't go into it, but had to sit outside of it and only touch. There was another mother and son nearby also playing in it. When she saw that the first little boy couldn't play in the balls, she asked her son to sit outside of it also and play that way. I thought it was just the sweetest, most thoughtful thing ever. I only hope I can be that thoughtful with my own daughter. Last week, I was waiting at a car dealership while my vehicle was getting worked on and there was a mother and her daughter taking turns reading Harry Potter to each other out loud. The mother had to pause several times while her daughter explained the characters to her, even though she definitely knew it all already. But the calm way she handled it was just amazing and so different from what you usually see. My mom did this to us while we did our chores every night. We ended up not doing them and just sitting there listening. When we got old enough, we would take turns reading. A mother brings her son into the pet store that I work at every single day. She is extremely nice, and her son is just a regular 10-year-old boy with a fascination of animals. When he was holding a bunny, I asked her why she agrees to bring him in every day when they never purchase anything, minus hamster food once a month, and she said as soon as he wakes up, he begs to come into the pet store all morning until she brings him in after lunch. He likes seeing the animals and talking to whoever is working. He has a vast knowledge of many animals, and although it can get repetitive and boring, his mother never gets angry, forces him to leave, or is rude with him. TLDR. Mother brings her son into my pet store every single day because he loves animals. Soon as that kid turns 16, you hire him. At work I listened to a boy excitedly talking about all the superhero action figures, who had done what kind of powers they had, and who was an enemy of who. The mother engaged him in the conversation, asking questions and acting surprised by what the boy said. They spent a long time with the action figures and it was nice. A lot of parents are like, you have 3 seconds Tommy, and the kid is tearfully hurriedly picking out his toy like it's a punishment instead of a reward. I used to hate kids until I saw the way my best friend and his son interact. Never a raised voice, never were any commands given, yet never were any requests denied. There was no change in his tone of voice when he spoke to his child. They always talked like adults. He would give his son quick, simple lessons every day. The one I saw was the meaning of friendship. I had just been kicked out of my girlfriend's house after a breakup, and my friend came to get me immediately. While we drove, he spoke to his son about what it means to be a friend, and how sometimes when a friend needs you, it can be more important to help them than to follow the rules, and that one day he will need to help a friend, and he could count on his father to always support him doing what's right even when it's difficult. Later on, his son pulled out his toy microscope and showed me all his favorite slides. My friend sneezed, then, noticing that the microscope was out, said, "Hey, want to see something awesome? Get me a blank slide." He wiped his sneezy hand on it and taught his son about cells and germs. The kid is 7 and already learning stuff I didn't know until high school. He never just gave information out to his son. If his son asked a question, he would ask questions in return to guide his son into figuring it out himself. He also wouldn't let his son give up on a question until he had an answer, and if they hit a dead end, rather than just give out the answer, he'd sit down and look it up with his son. to show where the answer really comes from and how to find it. And what really shocked me, and made me rethink my hatred of children, was just how amazingly consistent it was. I watched those two for about a month, and every day was more amazing fatherhood and awesome child. Heck, most adults I know aren't as well adjusted and calm as his child. It's the kind of thing that doesn't just restore your hope for humanity, it actually inspires me to change myself. I count him as the gold standard for good fathers. Here's the thing, the majority of kids aren't inherently bad, they are just the product of bad parents. I was on the subway the other day and there was a dad next to me that was letting his little girl draw on his arm with a pen. She was saying things like, and this is you and mommy, and I'm gonna draw my flowers here, and this is grandma's house, and he's going aha, and did you draw grandpa and where's the puppy? She had covered his forearm entirely in doodles. It was adorable. My dad did something similar, except he was drunk. We were camping, and he let us draw on his bald head with markers. True story. A guy took his daughter to the pool and was just watching. She stopped swimming for whatever reason and she was dripping wet. And then she said something and he gave her a big hug and she went back in the water all giggly and happy. It was cute how not a single frick was given about getting his clothes wet. Putting a smile on that girl's face was more important. I wish I had kids. A couple years ago, I was hitchhiking across the country with a friend and we found ourselves in downtown Calgary. There was a homeless man taking up a good chunk of one of the benches at the bus stop and a young couple came up with their daughter, who looked to be around 7 or 8. They sat right beside him on the bench and started up a conversation. The girl looked uneasy at first, but I could see that their conversation was going well. It may not seem like a huge deal, but I thought it was great parenting, recognizing that there are people less fortunate, but still deserving of attention and decency. It was great to see parents going out of their way to show others respect in front of their children in a situation where most parents may protect their children from the dangers of the homeless. As a Calgarian and a mother myself, I try and do the same with my kid. I've got dirty looks to people actually telling me I was putting myself and my child in danger. Thing is, I was homeless at one point and know that 90% of the homeless population is actually really nice people. One day on the U-Bahn I saw a man with 3 kids. One was strapped to his chest and the other 2 were probably 3 and 5. He was so calm, collected and cool, spoke calmly to them, was telling them a story, doing voices, acting goofy. I didn't understand what he was saying because it was in German, but it really touched my heart. Those kids could have been bored out of their minds having to sit on a train surrounded by a bunch of strangers, yet he kept them occupied with what I assume was an awesome made-up story. Was at an IHOP with a friend of mine about a month ago. They sat us next to a huge family, 3 tables pushed together with numerous kids and only one adult, a dad. The kids ranged in ages from what looked to be 3 all the way up to preteen. They were the most well-behaved kids I'd ever seen. Please and thank you and passing condiments about. One of the younger kids was even very patiently cutting up pancakes for the youngest of the group. When they left, there was not a single piece of trash on the floor. We just stared at them in amazement. I would have complimented the dad, but they took a different path out of the restaurant that didn't bring them near me. While snowboarding in Japan, my GF kept falling and getting frustrated. Upon seeing this, a young Japanese boy said something his father, and then the father motioned him toward us. The boy came to us, demonstrated how to properly place your feet on a snowboard, and then, smiling, walked back to his father. Probably the most polite 7 years old I have ever met, and most likely the product of a wonderful father. That's Japan for you. I was in Party Sauce the other day. It's a local liquor megamart, and I was passing all the party supplies aisles to get to the good stuff, the liquor. As I passed the aisle with all of the traditional pink little girly party stuff, there was a group of absolutely huge, really rough looking black guys. Every one of them was at least 6 feet tall and could probably bench press me one-handed, and most of them were covered in tattoos. One of them had his daughter with him. Every single one of those big, tough, badass guys was helping this little girl pick out the best tiara. I later saw them walking out of the store, and the little girl was wearing her tiara and a pink feather boa. I had a parent swing by my classroom today and ask if her daughter could meet up with me before the school year started. They moved and changed schools. She realized her daughter needed reassurance from me, her previous teacher, that the new school was going to be a positive experience. That struck a chord with me. She realized change can be frightening and difficult for children and was trying to ease the transition for her daughter. One of my co-workers leaves her daughter with her ex-husband when she works nights. It's a good arrangement. She gets free babysitting and he gets more time with his kid. Ex-husband's new girlfriend moved in with him. She didn't like having the kid around, so she started dropping hints about not having her over so often. When that didn't work, she started being mean to the kid, trying to make it so she wouldn't want to come over. When the ex found out about this, he immediately kicked the girlfriend out. This is a man who has his priorities in order. A long time ago, while on vacation, my cousin dropped a giant lollipop and was rather upset about it. While trying to comfort him, I saw father give his daughter a similar giant lollipop and the girl walked over and handed my cousin the lollipop. It was really adorable. Vice President Biden came and gave a speech at my college, and there was a mom sitting behind me with her son. She was asking him questions about politics, and he, in turn, asked his own. The kid seemed to be about 8 years old. She explained that Biden was a Democrat, and that there is another party called Republicans. The boy turned to her and asked, "Which one is right?" The woman responded, "That's not for me to tell you. You have to figure that out on your own." I gave that mom a standing ovation in my head for not pushing her own political opinions on her child one way or another. I work at a restaurant and a few weeks ago I see a guy walk into our establishment with a crown on his head and a tutu. His daughter was basically wearing the same thing. They proceeded to share a sandwich together and have a tea party during a busy dinner shift, completely ignoring the laughs and stares of everyone else. I have a 7-month-old daughter and I hope to be just like this guy one day. As a child whose father punched our wall because he caught me reading a book while brushing my teeth, I would like to hug this dad. Sitting in an airport recently that happened to have a piano in the corner with a notice on it saying "Go ahead and play it, edit, San Jose, CA" in case anyone asks. Got to listen to several pieces of varying quality. My favorite was a little boy of no more than 3 who bashed out a lot of random notes, but after every pause his whole family applauded him. Was adorable. Maybe he'll grow up to be the next concert pianist. Maybe not, but he knows that whatever he tries he'll have plenty of support. I slipped and my luggage flung open. People applauded me too. Feels good, man. JPG. I see this couple at work every now and then. They look a bit old to have children. Think 45, and the children are maybe 4-5. While they are waiting room they have great discussions with their kids. They talk to their kid as if they were adults, while keeping it very tasteful. I find it very refreshing. Too often do I see parents dumbing down their conversation with children. I remember people doing that with me when I was a kid and it used to annoy me quite a bit. Lots of kids are much smarter than most people believe. Most kids and teenagers are smarter than most people give them credit for. It's just now in today's world people baby their kids to ridiculous ages. I was at a restaurant last week with my sister and my niece, 3. It was just after her birthday. She wasn't having the best day and just being generally fussy all day. When we got to the restaurant, I remembered something I used to do for my little cousins and ordered her a Shirley Temple. Basically just ginger ale and grenadine. The waiter came out with the drink and a small cherry for my niece. Instead of eating the cherry, my niece named it Shirley and proceeded to play with it for the entire appetizer course. When it came time for the main course, she accidentally dropped Shirley and was devastated. I asked the waiter if he had another cherry that she could have, and he got the biggest grin on his face. He came out of the kitchen 2 minutes later with a bowl full of small cherries. My niece was ecstatic. She proceeded to take a single bite out of each cherry, suck the juice out, smack her lips and say then move on to the next one. Needless to say, that waiter got a good 30% tip. I was buying a car about 50 miles outside of my city, and the surrounding counties tend to be a little rural, to say the least. So I stop at a McDonald's on the way home to shove some calories in my face, when in walks a good ole boy and his daughter. The dad's appearance was basically redneck Randall, sleeveless NASCAR shirt and all, and his daughter was very overweight, so being in butthole. the gears in my brain start churning out hate and condescension towards the stereotype I had immediately turned this man into. Then I see them both examine a calorie chart on the counter. The dad is basically helping his daughter break down how many calories she can have, and turning it into a sort of game where she has to add and subtract and keep the number in a certain range. My god, I spent the next 45 minutes in my car feeling like such a piece of crap. I feel like a piece of crap for 45 minutes every time I eat McDonald's. I'm a very recently diagnosed schizophrenic and attend university in one state, and my dad lives in another, very far away state. My dad has never really understood mental issues, and at first he didn't understand why it wasn't the sort of thing I could just sort of snap out of, but he really understands how to be supportive and loving. I had been really falling apart at my school. I was seeing a psychiatrist, but was afraid to take the antipsychotic meds she so badly wanted to get me on. I was extremely paranoid about everything, but still needed to be around people in my day-to-day life. I was hopeless, paranoid, hallucinating, confused, and becoming extremely desperate. So I began drinking, drugging to overcome things, stop myself from being able to think so much. One thing led to another, and my dad gets a call from the concerned house leadership that I drink alone often, pass out all the time, am on numerous drugs, have lost a lot of weight, and I was already extremely skinny, and had recently fainted from a panic attack. They also said I was rarely coherent. What they didn't know is that I had actually gone extremely psychotic only 3 days before. Alone in my room, on about an 8 whippet, I was doing about 50 whippets a day as well as other things, and became suicidal. My dad, who is going through very hard financial times, scraped literally all the money he had together to buy himself a plane ticket out to see me the next day after he got the call. In his hand when he walked in was a plane ticket home for me. I cried like crazy. In fact, I'm welling up now just from typing this. That was actually a week ago. I'm home now, almost sober, ready to consider a new path forward for my mental treatment. The world is a much brighter place for me right now, all because of my dad. I feel guilty for what happened, but he never once blamed me for it. I don't deserve him. Yes, you do deserve him. Don't feel guilty. I'm extremely happy for you that you have such a wonderful father and that you're getting the help you need. You can make it. Good luck and congratulations on your life. I can only imagine how it must feel to be schizophrenic, especially before diagnosis. You're stronger than you know. I once on the subway and saw dad with his young son. The little guy was probably about 4 and he was singing a little song under his breath about whatever kids sing about, mostly stream of consciousness rambling about whatever he saw. The dad was kind of head bobbing along and just listening. Cool dad. I was sitting next to 2 women and 3 kids at a restaurant. As you know, most adults at a restaurant have their own conversation, and their kids have their own conversations, and every once in a while the 2 thunderclap into each other with some kind of brief scolding, and on and on. This mother was different. I don't know this mother's job title, but I know she was a teacher. She and her friend's sister partner whomever spent their entire dinner talking to those kids. They were apparently going to go to an Amish village the following day as part of their vacation, and the mother wanted to prep them. So she spent the entire dinner patiently talking with her young kids about what they were going to see, and why. She made them come up with theories. She made them come up with predictions. She made them think critically about what the past must have been like, and how people did the things we now take for granted in a time before electricity. They talked about hard work. They talked about cooperation. They talked about family and how children's lives might have been different long ago, and the kids weren't bored by it. They didn't beg their mother to stop talking to them. They didn't get out their DS. This was clearly what they were used to, and they loved it. Thinking about the time that mother put into her children, and the time that other parents don't, and or can't, made me realize why there is such a wide gap in knowledge and skill sets in our young children. I was walking home after going to a small market close to my house, and on the way back I saw chalk on the sidewalk. Things like hopscotch and start running here. Keep it up. Faster. Finish line. I of course did them. 100 yards later I come up to a little girl, 6ish, and either her mother or older sister, 18-25, The girl very excitedly asked me if I partook in the chalk hopscotch and run. I answered I did with a smile, and I walked the rest of the way home with the biggest dang smile. I never pass by chalk drawn hopscotch. I feel like it is against the law or something not to hop. My brother and my 9-year-old nephew, I'll call him Jake, were driving through a less fortunate part of town after Thanksgiving and saw some homeless people. Jake asked his dad about it, and he explained that they don't have a home, can go hungry and sleep outside a lot. When they got home, Jake sat down with his dad and said he wanted to help them, and he had this idea of donating them supplies so they could stay warm. Luckily for Jake, my brother is pretty well off and used to work for a sporting goods store in his 20s, so he started making calls. They got hold of about 25 sleeping bags, winter coats, hats, gloves, you name it. Some things were donated from friends, but most of it he was able to buy in bulk after talking to the store manager. They spent the next few days packing this stuff up and then put it all into their truck and spent the weekend driving around town until they saw a homeless person. Then they gave them the care package along with a sandwich, some chips, a soda and $20. They did this for 25 homeless people. I love the kid. He even beat the crap out of his older sister's bully. The kid was twice his size and 3 years older than him. You have been visited by the motorcyclist monkey. Comment monkey cycling so you never arrive late to somewhere. Thanks for watching. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.